Donald Trump says it is time to teach Canada a lesson. But there is one major problem with his warning. The United States still buys millions of barrels of Canadian oil every day, depends on Canada for most of its imported potash, and operates auto plants that cannot function normally without Canadian parts. So, is Trump right that America can simply replace Canada? Here is what just happened. Trade negotiations between Canada and the United States collapsed after Prime Minister Mark Carney said Washington introduced new conditions that were unfair, uneconomic, and unacceptable to Canada. Trump then imposed 50% tariffs on about 27.6 billion Canadian dollars worth of selected Canadian goods. He told American broadcaster Glenn Beck that Canada did not have anything the United States absolutely needed. He said replacing Canadian products might be inconvenient, but America could get them elsewhere. Then came the line that immediately ignited anger across Canada. Trump said it was time to teach Canada you can't do this anymore. Canada is now striking back. Beginning September 8th, Ottawa will impose matching tariffs of 15, 25, and 50% on 27.6 billion Canadian dollars worth of American imports. The targets include steel, dairy, appliances, farm equipment, electronics, pulp and paper, furniture, and clothing. The Canadian government is also committing another 7.5 billion Canadian dollars to support affected businesses and workers. But there is something both sides need the public to understand. This is not yet a total trade shutdown. The tariffs target selected goods, and the latest American measures exempt energy, potash, fish, and critical minerals. Most trade is still moving across the border. The danger is what happens if the conflict expands. Start with oil. In 2024, the United States imported an average of 4.1 million barrels of crude oil from Canada every day. Many American refineries were built specifically to process the heavier crude that arrives by pipeline from Alberta. America can buy oil elsewhere, but replacing that volume quickly would require new suppliers, new transportation routes, and potentially expensive refinery adjustments. Then there is natural gas. The United States imported an average of 8.5 billion cubic feet of Canadian natural gas every day in 2024. Canada also supplies more than 80% of American potash imports. Potash is essential fertilizer for American farmers, and Canada remains the largest foreign source of aluminum used by American manufacturers. The auto industry may be the most immediate pressure point. Canadian and American factories do not operate as two separate systems. They function as one North American production network. Engines, seats, electronics, and other components can cross the border several times before a finished vehicle is sold. Trump has announced that tariffs on Canadian cars and parts will rise to 50% on January 1st if there is no agreement. That would not punish Canada alone. It could raise costs for American factories, delay production, and increase vehicle prices for American buyers. However, Canada is also highly vulnerable. Nearly 72% of Canadian merchandise exports went to the United States in 2025. Canada can build new trade relationships, ports and pipelines, but it cannot replace the American market overnight. Canadian counter tariffs will also raise some prices inside Canada because importers pay the tariff first and may pass part of that cost to consumers. This is why neither side has an easy victory available. The United States has the bigger economy and can absorb more damage. Canada has leverage in specific resources and supply chains that American industries cannot replace quickly. The next critical date is September 8th, when Canada's new tariffs take effect. After that comes January 1st, when Trump's threatened 50% auto tariffs are scheduled to begin. There is still time for a deal. But if the conflict moves from targeted tariffs to energy, electricity, potash, and fully integrated auto supply chains, this stops being a political argument and becomes a continental economic shock. Trump says America can get by without Canada. Canada says it will not accept a bad deal. Now both countries are about to discover how much their shared economy is really worth. For the latest developments in the Canada and United States trade war, follow Weekly Voice.